I wanted to do a project about mental health, and I've wanted to do it for a very long time, but I wasn't brave enough to do it before. And I think as well, I felt like not many people would understand, so it wouldn't have the impact that the intention of doing a project like this would have. So over the last 11 months, I think everybody has had some form of mental health issue, either through stress at work or through circumstances such as perhaps losing the job, being furloughed, having relatives die from coronavirus, or family and friends contracting the virus. So I've made the big leap to make a series about mental health, and so I'm interviewing lots of different people, and we're just having a discussion. So I've got episode 1 here for people to watch, and I hope that this helps people to talk more about mental health. I hope that it reduces the stigma attached to it, and especially for those who are in the creative arts industries that are really struggling for work at the moment because they've not received support from the government. Just to know that there are people there that are in support of of what you're going through, and there are lots of people and organisations there to help people who are struggling with mental health. Hi, so in episode 1 of Musicular Mon Mental Health Matters, we're looking at the illness schizophrenia and also the impact that mental health stigma has in Black and minority ethnic communities. So, hello and welcome to Mental Health Matters with Musicular Mon. This is our first, basically, out of a series of discussions with various different members of the public about mental health and about breaking down the stigma and the negative association with mental health. So today I'm speaking to my colleague Chris about everything to do with mental health and your own personal experiences with it, and so on and so forth. So when you think of mental health, can you just explain to what your personal circumstances and situation and experiences?
I think my first experience of being around the word mental health existing within my family was when my brother at 12 years old was diagnosed with mental health, but it wasn't seen as being mental health in the late 70s.
Yeah.
And especially for young Black kids within that community, it was almost like it was never talked about.
Yeah.
So, and I remember my mum taking my brother to the doctors and saying there's some issues with him. He's very, very withdrawn, he's very quiet. He was spending a hell of a lot of time in his bedroom on his own, like when he came home from school. Which wasn't normal for a kid of his age.
Yeah.
They'd want to be playing out with their mates or doing something creatively or something that, you know what I mean? And he'd just literally just go off in his own world.
Yeah.
Eventually, it turned out after further examination when he was about 21 that he was suffering from schizophrenia. So from the age of 12 to 21, there was no medical support or anything like that for the family.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience of it.
Yeah.
And then for me, my experience, my personal experience was when my one of my daughters had passed away through cot death in late 1989. And I didn't understand the whole thing to do with depression, mental health, or anything at that point, other than some experiences of being in the caring profession, because I first started off being a family care worker in Bradford for Bradford Social Services. And when we'd lost our daughter, me and my wife, ex-wife, it took me 3 years really to get through that. And I was advised through a colleague at work to go to counselling, which I'd never done before, and I thought there was a lot of stigma around this thing to do with counselling, especially a black young man as well.
Yeah.
So what you're going to counselling for?
Yeah.
Pull your socks up and get yourself sorted out, and you'll be all right.
So
you're one of them.
Yeah, for those individuals that are not aware, like in minority ethnic communities, mental health is stigmatized massively.
Yeah.
And especially amongst men, especially black men, you know, and there's a lot of black men out there that have suffered in silence and unfortunately haven't been able to receive the support or the guidance or the help, and as a result of, you know, quite often quite a lot of taking their own lives.
Yeah, completely.
And you know, we are aware of suicide now much more because it's been more high profile with individuals such like Robin Williams,
that's right,
and the lead singer of the Prodigy. And Chris Cornell from Audio Slave, and
Nirvana. There's a whole list of them.
Yeah,
there's a list of them.
Massive amount of individuals that have taken their own life due to the pressures of what they're feeling with their mental health. I suppose a question is, how can people who feel, you know, this thought of hopelessness, and how can they sort of combat that, and how can they get through it? Because it is that one of those things where, for those people that have no awareness of mental illnesses, it's like, oh, you'll feel better, you know, like, you know,
standard kind of like answer to, but you know, it doesn't change. Just
keep yourself busy, or go out for a walk. Or, you know, and it's like, it's not that easy.
Because it's internal.
Yeah.
It's internal. The internal side of you needs to be healed in some way where you can feel that you have some self-worth again. Because I think one of the things, especially as a black person, if you say to someone, oh, I'm struggling, or psychologically I can't deal with this, then there's almost like this thing like you failed. That's where the issue is. And I think a lot of it is a lack of education, a lack of knowing the information about, we all in some way suffer from mental health.
Especially after
it's just like the terminology of that word was so like, oh, you don't say that people, but we all suffer from it,
but
whether you know it or not.
Do you not think that,
you know,
exactly what you're saying about people not talking about it, the same could be said about racism?
Completely.
Is that it's a bit of a taboo subject to talk about.
Likewise.
And some people feel a little bit awkward about talking about so, and it's not because, you know, inherently what the person is feeling or thinking is malicious, but it's just that because it's such a nuance. My husband loves to use the word nuance.
No, but I get
because
it.
It's a nuance subject. But I feel like mental health is the same.
Massively.
It's like people like, I'll give you the perfect example. I told some of my close friends and family on a Zoom chat that I'm doing this series about you know, these video blogs about mental health, and it was like, oh well, okay, good luck with that, Mon. See you next time, bye. Now, I'm not like, there is nothing wrong with that reaction, because for those individuals, they thought that, well, this is something that I have no idea about. I don't want to say anything that's going to be offensive.
No, I hear you.
So I'm just gonna. But for me, I was like, well, did I just ruin the conversation? Because and then just for those that, you know, and don't know my background or my history, I suffer from anxiety and depression, and I have an impulse control disorder called trichotillomania, where I pull my own hair out when I'm extremely stressed. And I mean, the thing is that if you weren't to know me personally, you wouldn't think that I have it.
Not at all, because it's something that you don't see.
Yeah. And I think everyone assumes that people with mental health issues is visible.
Yeah,
you can see it. You can say, oh, well, they're mental. No, they're a bit, as my grandma would say. What she was saying when we were younger, it wasn't mental health. It wasn't mental illness. It was the crazy. You're crazy. Oh, she's crazy.
We were told that. But that's a lot from the West Indies that came over here.
But I'm pretty sure in other minority ethnic communities as well, there is this stigma attached to mental health.
Massively.
I mean, you know, in Latin America, there's that similar sort of stereotype, and I know in African communities,
it's there as well.
Yeah,
it's there as well.
as well.
And I think there's two sides to it, and why there's a big stigma from the generation pre-me, meaning my parents and my grandparents, is because it was linked with the devil and evil and all that voodooism and all that.
Possessed.
Right. So if you said that there was something psychological wrong with this, say, oh, listen, he have some demons in him. We have to do.
Oh my God.
So that was the reason why. Yeah. So that was the reason why you didn't say if there was any psychological issues going on in yourself, you didn't want to expose that within your community. And that's sad because as a kid, like for my brother, that must have been so difficult for him to feel that he had to suppress all that for so many years. And now he's been on, you know, medication for the last 27 years. Do you know what I mean?
And there's probably that feeling of isolation as well, that no one's going to understand what it feels like. And I think everyone at some point in their life can relate to that. I know I can. Like, you know, when I first started pulling my hair out, I never thought that there was loads of other people that had that same experience. It wasn't until, and I'd been doing this for...
How old were you when you started?
When I started,
How old were you when you started?
I was about 13 or 14.
Did you feel when that started to happen that, hang on a minute, if my mates are not doing this, what's going on with me? Did you question that in yourself, or did you feel...
No, because I was always different. Because if you think...
Do you know what I mean, though, by asking that?
But being raised by a white dad and like my mum's black, but she's very light-skinned. So I couldn't relate to either parent. And then... like just going to school, I was always the only black girl in the class.
Like so was always one that stood out.
So I always internalize things that I experienced as an isolated incident or an isolated thing, rather than thinking, well, there's loads of people that are suffering from it. It wasn't until I went to college after, so I was basically repeating a year of sixth form when I was 18. I went to college and there was another girl in my class. I was describing to her my trick, and she was like, "Oh, I've got that," or "I had it." And she was really flippant about it. "Oh yeah, I had that. I used to pull out my eyebrows, I used to pull out my hair." And I says,
as if it's someone who's just got a bit of a cold and it's just gone.
And I was like, but this girl's got a full head of hair, beautiful. And I'm wearing wigs because I'm covering up all the patches on my head. And this girl's got a beautiful, long, brown, thick hair. And I'm looking at her thinking, okay. And I was like, "Do you still do it?" She goes, "Oh no, I stopped." And I said, "What made you stop?" Because I'm thinking I want to stop.
Yeah, of course.
Tell me the secret.
I get it.
And she's like, I just stopped doing it. And I was like,
without any medical
she just stopped doing it.
Treatment, therapy treatment, nothing.
She said that she just stopped doing it. And like,
that's interesting though. Why and how did it arrive? How did it arrive to her? Just going, bam, right, it's gone. It's out of my system. I can deal with it.
I think
because I don't get that.
I think now being a lot older, so I'm realizing that as well. My habits, my children are picking up.
Of course, they're going to learn from what they see.
Yeah, and so I think what advice I would give to people about these feelings of hopelessness and is, as much as it's going to feel like you are alone, you are isolated, and it is the end of the world, it's not, and there is somebody there that can help you, and there is somebody there that will listen. And I mean, one of the reasons why I want to be a music therapist so much is because I am aware of how much I've been helped by my therapist. And he shares a lot of the same interests that I do with musical theatre and performance, and he can see that using music and performance as a medium for me helps me through my mental health. And so those are the strategies that he uses. And a lot a lot of people will find that different things work for them, and that's absolutely fine. Not the same technique works for everyone. But the first,
you are individuals,
yeah,
with
definitely,
different
we're all
needs.
different. We're all different.
Yeah.
So the first step that I would say to an individual who's struggling is to talk to somebody about it.
Agreed.
Somebody who you don't feel like you're going to be judged. You know, someone who's impartial. Because often, if you do get family members involved, like I found that I told my family about it, and because of what we were talking about, the stigma and the culture.
Exactly.
Oh, don't be silly. You know, you're not crazy because you pull your hair out. Last time I checked, pulling your hair out is a sign of crazy.
Yeah, but it's really interesting because what you're saying there is making me think about other things. Like sometimes one way how it can be accepted within ethnic minority families is when they say, oh well, uncle so and so had it, so really it's an hereditary in the family somewhere along the line. So it's almost like they're saying, well, we kind of know it's there, we accept that, don't worry, you know what I mean, you're going to be all right. But it's still not acknowledging that support and help is needed in order to be able to deal with the issue. That's my point.
No, I'm in agreement with you, because that is how, that's been the coping mechanism for many different communities and many different cultures.
Totally.
You know, and one of my students actually, she wants to talk about her social anxiety and how songwriting has helped her.
Funny thing is that my experience of working in a school where I was working with a fair few kids as a music teacher, ADHD for one. There was one girl in particular that really stood out to me because she really suffered from a lot of severe mental health issues. One of the things that her mum said to me when she left school was it was music that saw through the last 3 years of that school. Because she never played the guitar before, and I helped to kind of learn to play a few chords, and then we used to write songs when she came into music lesson. And her mum said that was the biggest thing that made her move forwards. And she said she didn't know where she would have been at if she didn't have had the music. And that's just one example.
But that is for a lot of people, music is a medium that can help them through the mental health, which is really astonishing that the one thing that we've been prohibited to do under lockdown is perform. The creative arts industry has been decimated by the UK government's response to the coronavirus. But let's be honest, the mental health of our future generations has been dramatically affected by the events of the last 11 months. So please, if you do want to, comment, have a chat, contribute, get in touch at musicular.org or info@musicular.org on Musicular Mon on mental health matters. And I hope you all stay safe. I'm sending you peace, I'm sending you love, I'm sending you blessings, and see you for the next episode. Bye. I hope you enjoyed episode 1 of Mental Health Matters. If you do need to talk to anyone regarding any of the things that you've heard in the discussion, if you look in the comment section, there are numbers and websites of various organisations that can help with mental health matters. And if you decided that you want to share your story with me on Mental Health Matters, by all means get in touch. Okay, God bless.